Chapter 6 of High Adventure, a narrative of air fighting in France, by James Norman Hall. This is a LibriVox recording. All LibriVox recordings are in the public domain. For more information or to volunteer, please visit LibriVox.org. Recording by Mike Vendetti, MikeVendetti.com. High Adventure, a narrative of air fighting in France, by James Norman Hall. Chapter 6, a balloon attack. "I'm looking for two balloonatics," said Talbot, as he came into the mess-room, "and I think I've found them." Percy, Talbot's orderly, Tiffin the steward, Drew, and I were the only occupants of the room. Percy is an old legionnaire, crippled with rheumatism. His active service days are over. Tiffin's working hours are filled with numberless duties. He makes the beds and serves food from 3 to 5 times daily to members of the Escadrille Lafayette. These two being eliminated, the identity of the balloonatics was plain. "The orders have just come," Talbot added, "and I decided that the first men I met after leaving the bureau would be the balloonatics. Virtue has gone into both of you. Now, if you can make fire come out of a Boche sausage, you will have done all that is required. Listen, this is interesting. The orders are in French, but I will translate as I read. On the umpteenth day of June, the escadrilles of Groupe de Combat Blanc, that's ours, will cooperate in an attack on the German observation balloons along the sector extending from X to Y. The patrols to be furnished are: 1. 2 patrols of protection of 5 avions each, by the escadrilles Spa 87 and Spa 12. 2. 4 patrols of attack of 3 avions each, by the escadrilles Spa 124, that's us, Spa 93, Spa 10, and Spa 12. The attack will be organized as follows. On the day set, weather permitting, the 2 patrols of protection will leave the field at 10:30 a.m. The patrol of Spa 87 will rendezvous over the village of N. The patrol of protection of Spa 12 will rendezvous over the village of C at 10:45 precisely. They will start for the lines crossing at an altitude of 3,500 meters. The patrol furnished by Spa 87 will guard the sector from X to T, between the town of O and the 2 enemy balloons on that sector. The patrol furnished by Spa 12 will guard the sector from T to Y, between the railway line and the 2 enemy balloons on that sector. Immediately after the attack has been made, these formations will return to the aerodrome. At 10:40 a.m. the 4 patrols of attack will leave the field and will rendezvous as follows. Here followed the directions. At 10:55 precisely, they will start for the lines crossing at an approximate altitude of 1,600 meters, each patrol making in a direct line for the balloon assigned to it. Numbers 1 and 2 of each of these patrols will carry rockets. Number 3 will fly immediately above them, offering further protection in case of attack by enemy aircraft. Number 1 of each patrol will first attack the balloon. If he fails, Number 2 will attack. If Number 1 is successful, Number 2 will then attack the observers in their parachutes. If Number 1 fails and Number 2 is successful, Number 3 will attack the observers. The patrol will then proceed to the aerodrome by the shortest route. Squadron commanders will make a return before noon today of the names of pilots designated by them for their respective patrols. In case of unfavorable weather, squadron commanders will be informed of the date to which the attack has been postponed. Pilots designated as numbers 1 and 2 of the patrols of attack will be relieved from the usual patrol duty from this date. They will employ their time at rocket shooting. A target will be in place on the east side of the field from 1:30 p.m. today. "Are there any remarks?" said Talbot, as if he had been reading the minutes at a debating club meeting. "Yes," said J.B. "When is the umpteenth of June?" "Ah, mon vieux, that's the question. The commandant knows, and he isn't telling. Any other little thing?" "I suggested that we would like to know which of us was to be Number 1. "That's right. Drew, how would you like to be the first Rocketeer?" "I've no objections," said J.B., grinning as if the frenzy of balloon attacking had already gone into his blood. "Right. That's settled. I'll see your mechanicians about fitting your machines for rockets. You can begin practice this afternoon." Percy had been listening with interest to the conversation. "You got some nice job, you boys, but if you bring 'em down, there will be a lot of chuckling in the trenches. You won't hear it, but they will all be saying, 'Bravo! Effant!' I've been there, I've seen it, and I know. Does 'em all good to see a sausage brought down. There's another one of their eyes knocked out, I'd say." "Percy is right," said J.B., as we were walking down the road. "Destroying a balloon is not a great achievement in itself. Of course, it's so much equipment gone, so much expense added to the German war budget. That is something. But the effect on the infantrymen is the important thing. Boche soldiers, thousands of them, will see one of their balloons coming down in flame. They will be saying, 'Where are our airmen?' like those old poilus we met at the station when we first came out. It's bound to influence morale. Now let's see. The balloon, we will say, is at 1,600 meters. At that height it can be seen by men on the ground within a radius of, and so forth and so on. We figured it out approximately, estimating the numbers of soldiers of all branches of service who would witness the sight. Multiplying this number by 4, our conclusion was that, as a result of the expedition, the length of the war and its outcome might very possibly be affected. At any rate, there would be such an ebbing of German morale and such a flooding of French that the way would be opened to a decisive victory on the front. But supposing we should miss our sausage? J.B. grew thoughtful. "Have another look at the orders. I don't remember what the instructions were in case we both fail." "I read if number 1 fails and number 2 is successful, number 3 will attack the observers. The patrol will then proceed to the aerodrome by the shortest route." This was plain enough. Allowance could be made for 1 failure, but 2, the possibility had not even been considered. By the shortest route. There was a piece of sly humor for you. It may have been unconscious, but we preferred to believe that the commandant had chuckled as he dictated it. A sort of afterthought, as much as to say to his pilots, "Well, you young bucks, you would-be airmen, thought it would be all sport, eh? You might have known. It's your own fault. Now go out and attack those balloons. It's possible that you may have a scrap or 2 on your hands while you're at it. Oh, yes, by the way, coming home, you'll be down pretty low. Every Boche machine in the air will have you at a disadvantage. Better return by the shortest route." One feature of the program did not appeal to us greatly, and this was the attack to be made on the observers when they had jumped with their parachutes. It seemed as near the border line between legitimate warfare and cold-blooded murder as anything could well be. You are armed with a machine gun. He may have an automatic pistol. It will require from 5 to 10 minutes for him to reach the ground after he has jumped. You can come down on him like a stone. "Well, it's your job, thank the Lord, not mine," said Drew. It was my job, but I insisted that he would be an accomplice. In destroying the balloon, he would force me to attack the observers. When I asked Talbot if this feature of the attack could be eliminated, he said, "Certainly. I have instructions from the commandant touching on this point. In case any pilot objects to attacking the observers with machine-gun fires, he is to strew their parachutes with autumn leaves and such field flowers as the season affords. Now listen. What difference, ethically, is there between attacking one observation officer in a parachute and dropping a ton of bombs on a trainload of soldiers? And to kill the observer is really more important than to destroy the balloon. If you're going to be a military pilot, for the love of Pete and Alf, be one." He was right, of course, but that didn't make the prospect any more pleasant. The large map at the bureau now had greater interest for us than ever. The German balloons along the sector were marked in pictorially, with an ink line representing the cable running from the basket of each one down to the exact spot on the map from which they were launched. Under one of these, Spa 124 was printed neatly in red ink. It was the farthest distant from our lines of the 4 to be attacked, and about 10 kilometers within German-held territory. The cable ran to the outskirts of a village situated on a railroad and a small